Hey, are you considering setting up a ground blind for hunting this fall? Awesome option for both bow hunting and gun hunting. But here are 5 things you should consider before doing so. Number 1, know the area and scout it before you even take the blind out there. You need to know where the deer are showing up and where they're going to, so you have the optimal setup advantage in your favor. If you just pop the blind up anywhere, a lot of times you're gonna realize that those deer are showing up over there, or they're showing up over there, especially if you're hunting like I am here with no food source. This is just a travel through area, but I've scouted it for many years. There's a creek off here to my left. There's a nice crossing that goes to a heavy bedding area on public land, and that's why I have my blind here. Number 2, set that blind up way in advance of hunting season if you can. If you're hunting private land, that's a luxury. If you're hunting public land, it's not. But if you're hunting public land, know exactly where you want to put that blind. If you have that blind up, I put these things out during turkey season and I leave them there. Some benefits and some disadvantages to doing that, but the benefits far outweigh the disadvantages because the deer are going to get used to that blind just as much as they're going to get used to a piece of farm equipment, a hay bale, or anything like that nature. Because the third thing is to camo that blind in, brush it in whenever possible. The reason why I have this one kind of out in the open is that's the option I have here. If I brush that blind back in the cover, I'm not going to see those deer until they're right on top of me. And when you're not hunting a food source, a lot of times you have a split second, and if you're not ready, that deer's going to be gone. So in some cases, you have to think outside the box, and that's why I have this blind out here. It's out here 4 months in advance of bow hunting season. The deer are going to get used to it, and then when they start coming from this creek, either in the morning or the afternoon, I'm going to see them 15, 20, 30 yards before they get in my shooting line. But when all possible, camo and brush that thing into the cover, and the deer will not see. The fourth thing are 2 things actually, the sun and the wind. And wind has to be number 1. You got to find out that predominant wind. For me, it's almost always out of the west somehow. Southwest, northwest, straight west. And what I want is I want that wind in my face with my shooting lane in front of me. More chances of deer not smelling me, obviously number 1. But also I have to consider the sun. If it's facing straight east or straight west, depending upon when those deer normally show up, morning or evening, I gotta keep that in mind because as we know, the deer are creatures of the edge, and normally they show up right at sunrise or sunset. That could screw up my opportunity of getting a shot when the time comes. So the 5th and final thing is do not limit your options. Put that blind in a spot maybe that you're only gonna hunt once or twice or maybe 3 times in fall. Maybe your go-to spots are your tree stands or your ladder stands or your box blinds. Those are your go-to spots. So put that blind in a spot that you might be able to hunt just on a certain situation. One final thing is look at the blind behind me. Now I have that thing set up, I set it up for turkey season, and I'm gonna pretty much leave it in that position for deer season. Look at the windows. I've got 2 small window slots open, and that's for bow hunting. So I can slip an arrow through over here, and I can slip an arrow through over here. That's all I want. Because with a blind, you have to be in there, it has to be dark. So don't open up all those windows. A lot of times you feel claustrophobic and say, oh, I can't see that way or can't see that way. You have to do your scouting, know where the deer are probably gonna show up, limit your options to those maybe a couple windows. It's gonna increase your odds of not being seen, and also it's gonna keep your scent contained within that blind. Keep these tips in mind when you're hunting this fall, and never underestimate the power of a pop-up blind.
I want to take a minute today and talk about technology. I mean, this thing is probably the most powerful computer that a person has on them 24/7, and HuntStand just optimizes this thing. I love HuntStand for 3 features. The one that I think is crucial if I was looking for a property or even to use on my properties when we hunt out of state is property ownership. I love seeing the lay of the land. I love looking at the property. It just gives me a better idea what to expect, where the deer are going to come from. Second feature that I love is the ability for me to share my property with others. So if I'm telling my son to go to the tin stand, I can easily show him exactly the path to get to that tree stand. I know where he is, he knows where he's walking at all times, as long as we have cell service, which on my home farm we do, so he's not worried about getting lost. Before the days of phones, I can remember dropping off my oldest son, who's now 21, he was probably 12 or 13 at the time, and I'm putting in a tree stand, and he's like, "You gonna be back to get me?" Because he didn't know exactly how to get it out. And as a hunter, you know, being that age at one time, a long time ago, it's not, you know, it's that unsettled feeling that you worry about all the while you're in a tree stand. Hunt Stand takes all that away. The last feature I really like is the ability for Hunt Stand to determine the length of a food plot or how big a food plot is, because you can do the area counter. And why I like that is because people always assume when you're looking at an area that it's bigger than what you think it is. And here I'm just going to point, you know, and I'm going to put my points in, and it's going to tell me the exact size of that food plot, which when you're planting anything, you know, your seed ratio is determined by the acreage. If you overseed it, the plants aren't going to get as big, they're going to fight each other. If you don't put enough in, granted there's going to be a lot of weeds, you know, the competition from weeds, so you always want to make sure you have the appropriate seed rate for the area that you're planting in. With Hunt Stand, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Another option from Hunt Stand is the ability to print those maps off. You know, once you can post that on your hunting location, like up on the wall, it's a lot easier than even on a cell phone to show somebody exactly where you're going to go. Not only you have the reference when you're in camp and you can show them where that map is, you also have that ability to have it on their phone by sharing. I love the vinyl option just because it is more durable. Let's face it, you can put a paper map up on there and it probably isn't going to last as long. People are going to spill something on it, you're going to get it dirty. Where the vinyl, you can easily clean it. It's going to last a lifetime.